Welcome back. Governor Larry Hogan is currently enjoying his record approval ratings despite the fact that his legislature has overturned some of his veto legislation. What is the source of his popularity? Colin, what do you say?
Well, to be honest, I think the biggest source of his popularity is the fact that he's not a product of the Baltimore political machine like our esteemed previous governor that I think pretty much everyone in the state, regardless of their political stripe, was pretty much fed up with. And
Yeah, I agree with that.
apparently the national level doesn't approve very much of him either, as is dictated by his
Where's he
poll
bowling
numbers.
at?
Somewhere south of the
two.
South Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pun intended. Again, I think that Maryland especially is an interesting state politically because I think although we have some very, very liberal Democrats, we have some fairly centrist Republicans that get elected. And, I think as was the case with Ehrlich, we tend to do well by having the swing of the pendulum go to the right every once in a while because it tends to correct some of the overreaches over to the left-hand side. And I think it's healthy in a political system to have that happen.
So the question is, I mean, if this continues, and it probably won't, but if this continues, is there any possibility of picking up any seats in the legislature for the Republicans at the next term, which I know is not this year, it's 2 years from now?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. I think and I'm going to kind of like piggyback on what Colin has said. I think what you had was an anomaly, just like with Ehrlich, where you had 8 years of Democratic governor who put regulations and taxes and expanded the tax, of the spending and did all that stuff. And then you had people on the left who were just as tired of it as the people on the right were. And I think that's how you got Logan in office. I don't necessarily think that equates to seats in the House or the Senate. So.
And he did good with the Baltimore City riots, and now he's going to do a constitutional amendment for redistricting.
Yes, he did
So,
very well with the Baltimore
very
City
well.
riots.
Which I don't think
I think is a key point.
Yeah.
Can be
He
said
hasn't
for
done
the
very
Baltimore
well
City
on
government.
gun rights, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I
He's
understand
putting that off right now.
So here are some of the questions.
Can't
though.
put that off too long.
You
Do
can't.
you think the
because
state
that's
of
why he's
Maryland is, do you think things in the state of Maryland are right direction or wrong direction? Right direction, 52%, wrong direction, 38%. Do you approve or disapprove
What
of
about
the
the
way,
other 10%?
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
No opinion.
No opinion.
this
Do
thing.
you approve or disapprove the way Larry Hogan is handling his job? Approve 61.
He's up there.
Disapprove
Yeah.
22. That is higher than than Ehrlich and O'Malley ever hit. Do you approve or disapprove the way he's handling the economy? Approve 59, disapprove 25. Taxes, approve 49, disapprove 31. Education, I thought this was interesting because we have record spending in education. Approve 47, disapprove 32. So clearly they like what he's doing.
Well, one of the things that I think what makes Larry Hogan so likable is the fact that, he made campaign promises, on the campaign trail, and he's at least trying to stick to the ones that he made, and moving forward as fast as he can on the ones that he knows he can move forward fast on.
So he's
But I mean, again, gun rights, those kind of things are,
Right.
I mean, I think you have to drive that wedge in a little bit.
He's bipartisan. He's playing both sides, and he's got.
But you run out of time sometimes.
right,
to do
and
that.
I think
Yeah, he
gun
is.
rights are so askew in the state of Maryland that I think that deserves some attention.
Yep.
Now, but I'm going to go back to this, and I think that the one thing that I'm seeing out of this, and being somebody who's looking at it from the slightly left-hand side of the spectrum, I think that he's proving himself to be a potential antidote for the problems that we have on a national level. We need people who are willing to get in there and actually talk to the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And granted that the Maryland legislature has not treated him as well as maybe they should have, but he hasn't given up. He hasn't retreated into the governor's mansion and started pointing fingers and throwing things.
And he got 62% approval on the way he is working with the Democratic legislature.
Well,
That's another thing.
remember back years ago when Ehrlich tried to get gambling passed in the state of Maryland, and of course they wouldn't budge on it at the House or the Senate side. Period. They just weren't going to budge.
Right.
And as soon as O'Malley came in, it happens. So you're going to. I mean, Larry's got a tough road to hoe. I mean, he really does, because he's still, although he's working very well with the left, you know, he's got to try to find some allies on the left that can help, that they can help him push his agenda and sway some of the people on the left, so that when they come to a vote, you know, we're outnumbered 3-1 in the legislature.
So he's more of a moderate.
Well, and I think that, you know, that's obviously a process that takes some time in order to get in place. And of course, what you're dealing with is there is a fair amount of entrenchment, especially in the State House, with interests and people that have been there for entirely too long, and who have very safe seats and really don't have any
One
incentive
at the
to work.
speaker level, one at the president level.
Right, absolutely.
Who don't have any interest in reaching across the aisle, but ultimately, we don't have the same issues on a state level as we do on a national level here in Maryland. Ultimately, we have to figure out a way to work together because nothing is getting done. And again, this applies more to the national level, and it kind of takes us off on a tangent versus the segment, which is about Governor Hogan. But I think it gives us a roadmap for what we need to do on a federal level to fix the issues that we have.
Well, and interesting, one of the articles I read, I believe it was in the Washington Post, said exactly that he is potentially setting a paradigm shift for the way Democrats and Republicans could work together again.
Yep.
And if that happens, boy, wouldn't that be a great thing for our country?
Look,
Yes.
our country stopped functioning in the last 20 years because we have become so hyper radicalized on either side. And look, it's okay to have opinions, but at the end of the day, you have to accept the fact that if you're going to compromise with somebody, you're not going to get everything that you want. And they're not going to get everything that you want. That's how compromise works.
Yeah.
And we seem to have forgotten that because, and unfortunately, I think that ties into the fact that the electorate has gotten dumbed down to the fact that where they respond to key phrases and everything, and everybody goes into a frothing anger mode whenever some term is thrown about.
Well, you know it's a good deal when both sides of the table get up and neither one of them are happy.
Right.
So
That's when you know you have
it's
a
a good deal,
compromise.
right? You've got a good deal.
So here's a bad question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is it possible that part of this is a sympathy response for the cancer?
I don't think so. I think that you were going to, listen, again, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. You know, he made campaign promises on the campaign trail. He's fulfilling as many as he can, as quickly as he can. And some are going to take a little longer, I understand. But again, I can only caution him that, hey, when this session ends in April, there's 2 left.
Well,
That's all. That's all you have left is 2.
But relative to the cancer thing, I mean, and I didn't say that in terms of, I shouldn't have said sympathy, but the reality is that he's just finished his 6th round of chemotherapy, and in my mind, he hasn't missed a beat in governing the state.
No,
you know what? And I don't think that there's any sympathy related to that in terms of course, everybody's aware that it's happening. I think the greatest accomplishment that he has is nobody is really mad at him. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is.
I wish I could say that in the first or second year of O'Malley being in power.
Right.
And considering the fact that I was on his political side, I wanted to strangle him.
Yeah.
Well, on
I
that
should take back,
note,
but-
I think
Yes, Terry.
I think on that note, I think Governor Hogan he's known for his bipartisanship. So, going in with that, so the Iowa caucuses are just days away. Why should we care? Stay tuned for that report.